Good afternoon, one and all. So this is the webinar session by Pharma Intelligence in association with SCPM Institute of Pharmacy, Dhule. So today we have Sniper All India rank who will be guiding all aspirants to the preparing Sniper JE. So before wasting much time, I would like to hand over the session to Munali Patil ma'am to introduce about the session and SCPM Dhule College. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Sanjay sir. Thank you. Very good afternoon to all dignitaries, guest speaker, fellow faculty members, and dear students. I, Mrunali Patil, Assistant Professor, Department of Pharmaceutical Chemistry, very happy to greet you all on behalf of Shri Vile Parle Kelwani Mandal's Institute of Pharmacy Dhule and Organizing Committee of Pharma Intelligence. I am delighted to welcome you all present here for a guest talk by Ms. Shraddha ma'am. It is our privilege and honor to organize this event. Every event is the outcome of thought process. Here, it has been initiated by our visionary leader, that is Dr. Sameer Goel sir. Now, I take this opportunity to extend my warm welcome to our respected principal sir and convener of the event, that is Dr. Usman Siddiqui sir. Thank you very much sir for providing us this opportunity to organize such kind of event. Thank you so much. Over to you, Sanjay sir.
Thank you, ma'am. This was a brief introduction about SCPM. Thank you. So, I would like to introduce today's speaker, Ms. Shraddha Katdare. She has completed a Bachelor of Pharmacy from Bombay College of Pharmacy, and after appearing for NIPER JE, she has been secured NIPER All India rank 1, which is very, praising to, and all students might get inspired from her talk. So, I would like to hand over the session to Ms. Shraddha to start her session. Yes, Shraddha.
Thank you for that introduction, sir. Before I begin, I'd like to thank Dr. Usman sir and Mrinali ma'am and SKVM College of Pharmacy for giving me this opportunity and the Pharma Intelligence team. I hope what I'm going to say will help you better prepare for NIPER JE. So as the host has told you, I graduated from Bombay College of Pharmacy and I secured 17th rank in GPAT. I wanted to go to ICT, but I didn't get into the stream I wanted, so I gave NIPER. So I got first rank in NIPER, and now I've taken admission for MS in Medicinal Chemistry at NIPER Mohali. So without further ado, I'll get into the session. Hang on. I can't screen share, sir. Hello?
You can share your screen from that tab.
Yeah.
I will add into the stream then.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh, is the presentation visible?
Not yet, not yet.
Yeah, the application window is going out.
Mm, okay. You can go to the Chrome. Then there is the share
Okay.
screen option. Click on it. Go to the
Where?
application window. At bottom part,
Yeah. Hmm.
one option share screen. Yeah. Now I can see it. Yes, I will add that into the stream. Okay, it's loading.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can go to the presentation mode.
Okay. So we'll start with the session now. Uh, Before we can begin planning for NIPER or GPAT
Wait,
or
wait.
whatever entrance
Shraddha,
exam you're going to
Shraddha.
give. Yeah.
Shraddha, sorry to interrupt you. We can't. There is no presentation. Another window is
Hang
sharing
on.
from your side. Please select presentation.
Now.
No,
Okay.
no, no, not. You can stop share. Then reshare it.
Uh, Google Chrome, right?
Yeah, Google Chrome.
Now.
Just select PowerPoint. Window, then PowerPoint.
Yeah, but there's no option for that here.
There is one window. Share screen, then window, select PowerPoint.
Hello.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Again. Yes, you are audible. Please share
Okay.
screen.
The PowerPoint. The window is going out.
You have to just open PowerPoint first, then minimize it, then go to the share screen, then select window, and then there is a tab named as PowerPoint.
Yeah, that's the thing. The PowerPoint is minimized, but there's no tab in the application window. It was coming first, like it's fluctuating. It's coming and going.
Okay. Okay, you can start with then. You can explain.
Okay. Yeah, okay, fine. So, before we can start planning and preparing for the exams, it's important to know about the exams, right? You all must have heard the term, know your enemy. So now you're going to give GPAT first. So you guys know about GPAT. But so how is NIPER different from GPAT? So there are four main distinctions. First is that GPAT has 180 minutes to solve 125 questions. So you have a lot of time to go over your answers. So if you get stuck somewhere, you can leave that answer and then you can revisit once you've finished your paper. Well, NIPER has only 120 minutes to solve 200 questions. So about 36 seconds for each answer. So you have to be quick in case of NIPER. And if you get stuck somewhere, you have to leave it. You won't be able to revisit it. So that's one of the main distinctions. First is that the next distinction is that the syllabus for NIPER and GPAT may be same. 90% of the syllabus is same, but NIPER may they ask you extra questions which are related to vocabulary, your logical reasoning, mental aptitude, basic statistics, and general knowledge. So you have to be prepared in that aspect as well. The third is that NIPER, like GPAT, publishes your score, right? You get to know how much you scored, so you can analyze the previous year's cutoffs, and then you can decide a threshold for yourself that you have to cross the minimum number of marks that you have to obtain in order to crack GPAT. NIPER के case में they don't publish your scores. You only get to know what rank you have achieved and whether you have qualified or not. So that is one of the main differences between GPAT and NIPER. The another minor difference is that GPAT may most of the questions are application based, so you have to do a lot of thinking, you have to do a lot of correlation before you can answer the question. NIPER के case में many questions are direct and straightforward. They'll ask you mechanism of action, they'll give you a numerical जो solve करना पड़ेगा, but the numericals are very simple NIPER में. So in that aspect, NIPER is sort of simpler. But see, these differences may scare you in the beginning, but there's no need to worry. We'll see how to tackle each one of them. Okay. So planning. So how do you plan for NIPER? Basically, first you have to take GPAT seriously, because before you can appear for NIPER, you have to crack GPAT. You can't do NIPER without, if you don't qualify for GPAT. So when you're studying for GPAT, you have to give your 100%. You have to give it your all. Try to leave as little subjects as possible for NIPER. Like जितना हो सके GPAT के लिए, जितना syllabus हो सके उतना GPAT के लिए finish करो, ताकि NIPER के time पे you'll only have to revise. You won't have to start everything from scratch. And another thing which will help you is GPAT देने के बाद you'll probably get to know which subject you're weak at. Right? So when you're preparing for NIPER, focus more on that subject and try to bring it to the level of the other subjects that you're good at. Okay. So take GPAT seriously. And when you're planning for NIPER, don't aim just to crack it. Aim for the highest score you can achieve. You know that saying, right? Aim for the moon and you will reach the stars. So that. So making a schedule is important before you can start with your preparation, because because a schedule will provide you a pathway to follow, a roadmap to follow. So how do you plan? Uh, there are 20 subjects in total, right? So this fact, in the entirety of BPharm syllabus, there are 20 subjects, which may scare you, which may be a little overwhelming because it's a lot to study and people usually get overwhelmed. They can't decide where to start, which subject to start. So there's this book, you all must know about this book called Pearson, right? The Pearson's Guide to GPAT. So in that book, these 20 subjects are divided into 4 main sections, which actually simplifies the subjects a lot, so that you can decide where to start. So that is that is something that I really like about Pearson. So now that you have the subjects in front of you, you have to plan where to start, right? So start at the beginning. Before you can go to the core subjects like pharmaceutics, pharmaceutical chemistry or medicinal chemistry, pharmacology or pharmacognosy, you have to be very familiar with the basics, because pharmaceutics is nothing but application of physical pharmacy, industrial pharmacy, right? So when you are thorough with the basics, when you know the basics inside out, the core subjects will become simpler to understand and easier to remember. Okay. So when it comes to scheduling, always start with the basic subjects first. Now these are the subjects that were taught to you in your first and second year of BPharm. So revisit those books, those notes which you might have made in college, and study those. Even if you take a lot of time to cover basics, it's okay. It does not, it won't harm you. It's actually better. The clearer your basics are, the easier the easier it will be to study your core subjects, and the easier it will be to remember and apply them. Okay. So for example, let's take an example. Say tablet manufacturing, the steps in tablet manufacturing, compression, evaluation of tablets, hardness वगैरह. So what comes into play here is the micromeritics, which has been taught to you in physical pharmacy, the first chapter in Pearson. So your micrometrics, the flow properties, cohesiveness, particle size, particle shape, all that will come into play in tablet manufacturing. So if you're very clear about micrometrics, about rheology, then the conventional and non-conventional dosage forms that will be taught in pharmaceutics will be very easy for you to understand. Okay? Similarly, before you can start with pharmacology, you have to be familiar with anatomy and pathophysiology. Like, what is pharmacology? It's drugs interacting with your system, right? To alleviate diseases, to treat diseases. So before you can learn that, before you can study that, you have to know what the disease does to the body, and you have to know how the system works normally, what pathways are involved, right? Okay. So be clear with your basics. Now, once you have made a schedule, it's important to commit to the schedule, right? Schedule karte like what people do is they tweak the schedule, they make minor changes to the schedule so that they can have a perfect plan. The thing is, there is no perfect plan. You will, once you have made a basic schedule, if you just keep on modifying it, just keep on adding things to it, taking things from it, you are only wasting time. So once you have a schedule, just start. Okay. And once you start, you should keep that momentum going. You should not stop in between. If you feel like you're going very slow, if you feel like even the simplest topics are taking a lot of time, it's okay. It happens to everyone, happened to me too. It took me like 5 days to finish physical pharmacy, and I was very demotivated because I thought कि इतना simple subject मेरे से फटाफट नहीं हो रहा. But what helps you is if you keep going. You should not give up. You should not stop. You should not get demotivated, because once you keep on studying, your speed of grasping the subjects will keep on increasing. So consistency is the key here. Whatever plan you have made, you have to commit to it. And then once you take it day by day, eventually you look back and see, अरे मेरे significant portion cover कर लिया मैंने. Okay. So once you have reached your core subjects, correlation is important. All the subjects in pharmacy, or the core subjects and even the allied subjects, they are interrelated. So one aspect of one subject will have effects on another aspect of other subjects. So when you're studying for your exam, you have to study with not the aim of cracking exam. Like, सिर्फ एग्जाम क्रैक करना है इस नजरिए से नहीं पढ़ना है. You have to study so that you understand the application. You can apply what you have learned. Okay. So how can you apply it? A great way is to correlate the subjects. This, for example, we know medicinal chemistry and pharmacology are interrelated. How? Medicinal chemistry is affected by organic chemistry, right? Organic chemistry में जो structures है, medicinal chemistry में you learn how those structures affect its activity and its pharmacokinetics वगैरह. Then that drug molecule which you learn about in medicinal chemistry, you learn about how it affects your body, how it interacts with your systems and your receptors, and in pharmacology. And on that basis, you get to learn what the drug of choice is, what its therapeutic efficacy is, and what its adverse reactions are, which is clinical pharmacy. So almost three subjects are interrelated here, right? So a positive of this strategy of studying is that जो जो individual subjects के लिए आपको जितना time लगेगा, उससे कम time आपको लगेगा if you correlate all these subjects. So it becomes a very efficient way of studying multiple subjects at once. And it also will help you to develop your critical thinking skills, which you require to answer the questions that they've asked in GPAT and NIPER. So after you have learned how to correlate, it's important to study smartly. It's important to play to your strengths. जितना आप the number of subjects that you're good at, you have to denote more time to them. You have to know what you're good at. You have to know what your weak subjects are. So I would suggest focusing on your strong subjects first, rather than being average at all subjects. It's better if you know the important subjects, the subjects have which have more weightage. It's important if you know these. It's better if you know these inside out. Okay, so study these subjects as best as you can. But because अगर there are 20 subjects, right, अगर आपसे 20 subjects नहीं हो पा रहा है, if by some reason your one of these subjects you just cannot study, you cannot understand, or you're just not good at these subject, then if you have mastered 19 subjects out of 20, you can leave one subject, you can let it go. So be smart about your preparation. सब कुछ like be smart. Prioritize. Learn to prioritize your subjects. Okay. So next is time management. So time management के लिए you have to know weightage कितना है हर subject का. Because knowing how important a topic is the key, right? So that you can give appropriate amount of time to suitable subjects. So how you can do this is by analyzing previous year's question paper, to see that कौन से topics से ज़्यादा questions पूछे जाते हैं. So uh, do that and dedicate more of your time to the subjects which have more weightage, right? uh, and so that you can reduce the time that you waste on the less important topics. Dedicate more of your time to the high weightage wala topics. So I took a year's gap. Okay, like ek saal ka I had taken a gap, so I could devote like 10 to 12 hours daily for my preparation. But that was with breaks, बीच बीच में time pass होता रहता था. But you have your college, you have your lectures to worry about, you have your exams to worry about. So 2 to 3 hours daily is enough for you to balance it with college hours. But you have to make sure कि वो जो 2-3 घंटे आप पढ़ रहे हो, you have 100% focus there, right? You should not get distracted उतने time में. And try to exceed that time. अगर 2-3 hours आपको कम लग रहा है तो 4 to 5 hours करने का कोशिश करो. Okay. Be willing to devote as much time as you can to study for these exams, because ये जो कुछ months है exams के पहले, these are very crucial for your preparation, since these exams will determine where you get into for your masters. So the prospect of studying all these subjects, there are 20 subjects, right? And you also see the competition around you. Your friends are also preparing for the same exam. So when you see that, things are bound to get overwhelming. You are bound to be nervous. You will think कि um, like, am I studying enough? Is what I'm doing enough? It even happened with me. I my all my friends had given GPAT and NIPER in my previous year, in the final year. So I had nobody else to study, right? I didn't know how everybody else was studying. So that was what made me paranoid. That was what made me insecure, sort of. So what I did to overcome was that when I made the schedule now, I put daily goals in it, so that इंस्टेड ऑफ फोकसिंग ऑन ये वीक में कितना खत्म करना है, या फिर बिफोर जीपैट अपने को कितना सिलेबस कवर करना है, इंस्टेड ऑफ डूइंग दैट आई यूज टू जस्ट से कि ठीक है, आज के दिन इतने इतने चैप्टर्स आई हैव टू फिनिश, इतना टॉपिक खत्म करना है, एंड जस्ट वरी अबाउट दैट. कल क्या करना है, परसों क्या करना है, ये वीक में कितना करना है, डोंट थिंक अबाउट दैट. इट विल ओनली इंक्रीज योर एंजाइटी. सो टेक इट डे बाय डे, बट यू हैव टू डू इट एवरी डे. ऐसा आज डेली कोटा खत्म किया बट कल नहीं किया, ऐसे नहीं चलेगा. यू हैव टू फिनिश इट एवरी डे, सो दैट आपके ऊपर से वो जो भार रहता है ना, द वेट ऑफ प्रिपरेशन, दैट विल लेसन अ लिटिल. ठीक है. Then about the competition, about how your friends are preparing, see, that is something that you cannot control. You have no control over how other people are studying, and you cannot compare the way you study to how others are studying, because people have different grasping strengths, levels. So अगर उन लोग को ये टॉपिक्स खत्म करने में कम दिन लग रहा है, and if you're taking a lot of time to finish the topic, don't worry. You only have to focus on what you're doing. 10 लोगों से 10 opinions लेने का जरूरत नहीं है. Just focus on your own work. Control, what is in your control is how you study. Okay. And with your college hours and your college ka lectures and everything, you are bound to get burned out. Like you might reach that stage, where your brain gets saturated, where you cannot process information, where you cannot store information in your brain. So how to avoid reaching that point is to take small timed breaks. But there are conditions. Okay, the breaks must be small. आधा घंटा 45 minutes. You cannot go over 1 hour, because एक घंटा ब्रेक लिया तो वो एक का डेढ़ का 2 घंटा हो ही जाता है. So take small breaks and set a timer for yourself. But वो ब्रेक में don't stress your eyes. Okay, don't use that break to watch series, or don't be on screen for that period of time. Relax your eyes. So once we have once we've gone over the strategies on how to do it, the actual work part, what to refer. So almost all the people who have taken GPAT and NIPER, or they will be in future, will say कि Pearson अच्छा है. And they are right. It is a great book which summarizes all important topics from all the subjects in a concise way. But this is very important that you don't rely on Pearson alone. Pear, सिर्फ Pearson refer करना is not the way to go. It is not an alternative to your reference books, जो B.Pharm के syllabus में you all use, right? So Pearson में क्या होता है? Pearson will only give you a skeleton of the important topics, and these important topics you have to study in depth, in very detail, from your reference books. So, and those topics which जो Pearson में नहीं है, it's not that you should skip those topics. No, वो भी तुम लोग को reference book से करना पड़ेगा, but you can be less thorough about it. You can skim over them. But जो GPAT में mention, जो Pearson में mention है, वो you have to know those topics inside out. Okay. Basically, don't rely on Pearson alone. But however, there are a few topics that I had to do from Pearson, because I didn't have those reference books, like management ka ya fir jurisprudence, biotech. I didn't have those reference books, so I did it exclusively from Pearson. But try to use your reference books only. Yeah? Pearson, just use it as a blueprint of what you have to study. So the next is, should you make notes, right? So making notes is a personal preference, but it helped me a lot. See, there may be few people out of you who don't need to make notes. उनको information याद रहता है. Even to those people, I would say make notes, because what happens is pharmacy is not a simple subject. Pharmacy as a whole is not a simple subject. जो सब कुछ ऐसे topics रहेंगे for which you'll have to refer more than one book. You'll have to refer 2 or 3 books. So in that case, if you make notes, you'll be able to condense all that information from 2 or 3 books into one place. So revision ke time pe, you won't have to go looking for that information from different sources. You'll have just one place जहाँ पे सारा information आपने खुद लिखा है. Another positive of making notes is that you write things down, right? हम लोग ने जब भी ABCD पढ़ा था, we used to write it down, and that's why we still remember it, right? So writing things down actually helps you memorize things better. Okay, and once you write it, like it's like your brain repeats the information to yourself when you're writing it down. So उस information को access करना also becomes easy when you're answering the questions. The information should click in your mind, right? तुम लोग को ज़्यादा सोचना नहीं पड़ेगा if you make notes and you study them regularly. So, what are the important subjects? uh, in order of their weightage, the important subjects are pharmacology. One second. Yeah. So the important subjects are pharmacology, then pharmaceutics, then organic chemistry, then medicinal chemistry, then analysis, and then pharmacognosy. Okay. So now I'll show you how I made notes in the order of weightage. Huh. So the first notes that I've made were pharmacology. For that, I referred KD Tripathi, but KD Tripathi was a book that I referred cover to cover. I didn't skip even those topics that were not mentioned in Pearson, and that actually helped me. So, like I said before, pharmacology ke liye, you have to know the anatomy and your pathophysiology of diseases, right? So, your first and second years. So, when you're making notes for pharmacology, you should make notes for medicinal chemistry at the same time. You can use different books for that, but study them at the same time together. Now, what to study in pharmacology? So the most common questions that are asked from pharmacology is the mechanism of action, ADM, pharmacokinetics of drugs, classification, and major side effects and adverse reactions. Like there are some drugs which have very unique side effects, so you have to remember that. So this is where things go from understanding a concept to ratta marna. Most of the things in pharmacology is you can understand by using logic. Now let's take example of asthma. What is asthma? क्या होता है उसमें? ब्रोंकोकंस्ट्रिक्शन होता है, या फिर IgE एंटीबॉडी रिलीज होता है, या फिर ल्यूकोट्राइन्स आर रिलीज. So how do you counter asthma? Bronchodilators or anti-IgE antibodies or leukotriene antagonists. See, very simple, very logical. Everybody understands this. But when we talk about classification, when we talk about remembering the drugs which come under a certain class, names don't always make sense, right? नाम के पीछे हर बार logic रहता है, ऐसे नहीं. So in that case, mugging up becomes unavoidable. It becomes important, and you should not shy away from that. Like people say कि रट्टा मारना is not a good way to study. ऐसे लोग बोलते हैं, and most of the time they are right. But this is a case where रट्टा मारना is important. So सीखो, अभी रट्टा मारना पड़ेगा इसके लिए. But however, you can make it easier to remember things by applying various tricks. So what are these tricks? The most common is using mnemonics. What is mnemonics? Like अभी आपके पास 4-5 drugs है, so you have to remember their names. So what you can do is the first two letters of the drugs you can arrange in such a manner so that it forms a word or a sentence that you can remember. So that is mnemonics. An example of that is that uh, when in our final year, when we were talking about drugs for tuberculosis, the first in line drugs we remembered by using the mnemonics PRICE, PRISE. So those were the 5 drugs that were first in line: pyrazinamide, rifampicin, isoniazid, streptomycin, and ethambutol. This was something that was taught to us in final year, and it stayed with me through my preparation for GPAT and NIPER. So mnemonics is a great way to remembering things, and it also makes it easier for you to access that information that is in your head. Another thing about names is that there are certain classes of drugs जिसमें the suffix, the end part of the drug is related to its mechanism of action. For example, statins. Statins are HMG-CoA reductase inhibitors, right? So atorvastatin, lovastatin. So you can remember. So if you can remember the last part of the name, what do you say? You can know its mechanism of action. For same is the case with sartans, glitazones, gliptins, etc. So when you see the such a class of drugs, you have to keep an eye out for them. Okay. Next is one second. Yeah. Next is Sutix. So I'll be honest, Sutex is very easy to understand, and I did not make so many notes about Sutex. I didn't like that subject so much, so I only studied it from the reference books. It was the subject that I started with because मुझे Sutex जल्दी खत्म करके I wanted to move on to subjects that I actually liked. So as I said, Sutex के लिए you have to be sure, you have to be familiar with physical pharmacy and pharmaceutical engineering. So what do you study in Sutex? Sutex में the various dosage forms are important, right? The conventional dosage forms such as tablets, capsules, वगैरह. Unconventional dosage forms like nanoparticles, drug delivery system, transdermal drug delivery system, etc. So you have to study that. You have to study their evaluation via their IP and USP monographs. So uh, it's a very favorite question of theirs to ask. IP एंड यूएसपी जो इवैल्यूएशन का वैल्यूज रहता है, फॉर एग्जांपल एवरेज वेट, टैबलेट वेट, तो व्हाट्स द रेंज, यूएसपी एंड आईपी का रेंज अलग रहता है, तो यू हैव टू रिमेंबर दोस थिंग्स. एंड देयर इज प्री फॉर्मुलेशन, यू नो, solubility, crystal state, its polymorphism वगैरह, all that you have to study. And all of this information is there in the third chapter of Pearson. So Pearson में आप देखोगे ना, तो you'll be able to decide कि reference books में से क्या क्या पढ़ना है. Okay, and recently they've started asking about ICH guidelines as well, so you have to remember that also. When we talk about, अभी Sutex में आगे आता है cosmeticology. So that was one subject जो जिसके लिए I didn't use reference books because हार्डली एक क्वेश्चन आता है, वो भी अगर आया तो Pearson is enough for cosmeticology. You don't have to, go into detail reading the reference books about it. Next is biopharmaceutics. So biopharmaceutics is an extremely important subject from your exam point of view, from your master's point of view, and also from the point of view of the industry. Like if you're going into R&D and F&D, then biopharmaceutics is something that you cannot avoid. वो सीखना ही पड़ेगा आपको उसके लिए. तो the most important thing to remember in biopharmaceutics is the formulae, the rate of reaction, the elimination rate constant, volume of distribution, half life, those, yeah, area under curve, those, etc. So that's what you have to remember, all those formulas. And they'll ask numericals based on these formulae, but the numericals are very straightforward and you'll be easily able to solve them अगर ये formulae आपको याद रहते हैं तो. Another thing about biopharmaceutics is that the nature of the drug will affect its pharmacokinetics. So वो सारा theory आपको पढ़ना पड़ेगा. So for biopharmaceutics, you have to refer reference books. Pearson alone is not at all enough for biopharmaceutics. Okay. So next we go to organic chemistry. अभी organic chemistry forms the basis of medicinal. So next slide. Organic chemistry forms the basis of medicinal chemistry and even pharmacognosy. Like pharmacognosy में जो chemical constituents रहते हैं, the phytochemistry, even for that organic chemistry is the basis. And I'll be honest, many people say कि organic chemistry is a subject that they struggle with, but the thing is, um, it's the third most important topic for NIPER. Third most important, third most, what do you say? Is the third highest weightage. So organic. So this is a subject that you cannot skip. This is a subject that you have to do inside out. Okay. So organic chemistry में क्या सीखना है? The basics, which are hybridization and stereochemistry, EZ configuration, conformations, etc. वो सब. The rules and laws, Huckel's rule रहता है. Then there's Hund's exclusion rule वगैरह. वो poly exclusion rule, Hund's rule. वो सब rules and laws, Sedzef's rules, Markovnikov's rule. And heterocycles. See, heterocycles, most of the drugs in medicinal chemistry, most of the phytoconstituents, everything has heterocycles. So heterocycles करना ही है. And structures are important. when you're studying heterocycles, their resonance structures, reaction के time पे which position is the most susceptible to electrophilic aromatic substitution. So all that you have to study. Next is substitution and elimination reactions. Now, see, usually जो name reactions हम लोग पढ़ते हैं, exams में they only ask you about reactants, products, catalysts, and if there is any unique intermediate. For example, अपना Beckman reaction. Beckman reaction में reactant is oxime, a product is aldehyde, sorry, product is amide, and the intermediate is an isocyanate. So that, so these things you have to remember. But substitution and elimination reaction में you have to remember the mechanism. You have to remember जिस कौन से condition में कौन सा reaction होता है. You have to remember the stereochemistry of the reactants and products and the solvents which are suitable for those reactions. Okay. So the only way to do these, to remember these reactions, the only way to remember the structures of all the heterocycles and everything, you have to practice. सिर्फ पढ़ के आपको ये याद रहने वाला नहीं है. So remember them, write them down again and again and again till it gets fixed in your brain. Also, Morrison and Boyd is an amazing book for organic chemistry, but I found topics which were a few topics which were poorly explained. I won't say poorly explained, but which I could not understand when I read Morrison and Boyd. So उसके लिए I used Khan Academy. So Khan Academy can very efficiently clear your doubts in very little time. So if you are into that type of studying, if you like audio visual mode of studying, I would recommend Khan Academy. Okay. So next is medicinal chemistry. The only way to medicinal chemistry, like organic chemistry, is practicing. It will be easier if you do it, and it will be easier if you do it at the same time as you're studying pharmacology. Now pay attention to the backbone of the molecule, because there are so many drugs that you have to remember in medicinal chemistry. You should not do the structure of each and every drug of each and every class. Just remember the prototype drugs of one class. Remember its backbone. What heterocycle is in it, or which aromatic ring it contains, the functional groups which are responsible for its activity, and the structure activity relationship, like the effect of those functional groups on the pharmacokinetics or pharmacodynamics. So that's that's their favorite question to ask. Which functional groups is responsible for the activity of, for example, sulfonamides? It's the 4-amino group. So study that way. Now, when it comes to pharmacognosy, I found Pearson enough. Like जो actual subjects थे, जो actual alkaloids and drugs containing glycosides, volatile oils, उसके लिए Pearson is enough, because it gives you information in a tabular format, and um, even it has extra drugs which you won't find in your reference books. But the biosynthetic pathways, which are shikimic acid pathway, acetate mevalonate pathway, the evaluation of crude drugs and extraction techniques, these are the things that you have to refer your reference books for. Okay. But ये जो main chapters है आगे के, the last 4 chapters, and even the chemical tests, for that Pearson I feel is more than enough. And if you solve the questions that are there after every chapter, I think that is enough for pharmacognosy. Then comes analysis. So analysis is a very simple topic, and it's very easy to study, and there are a few principles which are not explained which are not there in the reference books, and which are not explained in Pearson as well. So for that, Wikipedia I think is enough. Like you don't it's not like you have to write a brief you write a detailed answer, right? You don't have to write a paragraph there. So Wikipedia will explain the principle in simple words to you, and that is what you have to know for NIPER. So अगर आपको reference books में वो information नहीं मिलती है तो you can go for Wikipedia. And analysis में the most important thing to remember is the IR values and the delta values for NMR and infrared spectroscopy. So for that, I wrote it in a tabular format, sort of, which made it easier for me to remember. So figure out what the easy way for you to remember is and employ that technique when you're studying. यहाँ पे भी रट्टा मारना important हो जाता है. Okay? Try to and basically all the subjects you have to try to gather information from as many sources as you can. तो यहाँ पे notes बनाना important हो जाता है because you can't just refer these different sources again and again, right? Okay. Then when we talk about the other subjects like biotechnology and microbiology, etc., तो उनके लिए I had to use Pearson because I didn't have reference books. But I would suggest कि if you do have reference books, then use those. Don't rely on Pearson alone. It's not an alternative to the reference books. So, yeah. When it comes to non-pharma related questions, these questions appear only in NIPER exam. GPAT में सिर्फ pharmacy से related questions आता है. So these non-pharma questions include vocabulary questions, aptitude questions, like जिन जिन लोगों ने 7th standard में scholarship दिया होगा, तो they must know कि aptitude वाले questions कैसे रहते हैं, the logical reasoning one. There's basic statistics, mean, median, mode, variance, standard deviation, general knowledge, and current affairs. So when they ask you questions about general knowledge, it could be anything. Okay, it could be who won Nobel Prize in the last 2 years, or when is World Diabetes Day, when is World Pharmacists Day, or they might ask you who invented vaccines. So all this knowledge is something that you have to look out for. Uh, try to try to keep an eye on the information on the events that are going on in the world around you. Okay, for uh, uh, when questions when questions come to current affairs, you have to know what is going on in the Indian pharmaceutical industry. So look up information on the Indian pharmaceutical companies and to whether pay attention to any public event that revolves around these companies. You know, ये company का chairman कौन है, या फिर has this company been taken over by a different company, or has this company taken over another company. This is something that you have to search, that you have to look up. Okay. So for example, this year, as everybody knows, the major event worldwide was COVID-19. So I knew कि COVID-19 में से question तो आना ही है. So I studied about COVID-19. I studied the drugs that were approved. Like no drug has been approved for COVID-19 yet. So emergency authorization, emergency use के लिए जो approve किए गए हैं, those drugs I looked up. I looked up the vaccines that are in the pipeline, and they did ask. There were 3 questions about COVID-19. So pay attention to what is going on all over the world for that. So when we talk about these questions, it may get overwhelming. Like इतना सारा information इकट्ठा करना and to remember it all, it's a scary prospect. But you also have to remember कि ये questions constitute about 10 to 15% of the paper. So and उसमें से aptitude and logical reasoning वाले questions are those which you can answer easily. Like anybody can answer those questions. So don't worry about it. But ये क्वेश्चन, ये सारा इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट करने के चक्कर में यू शुड नॉट फॉरगेट अबाउट योर फार्मेसी रिलेटेड क्वेश्चंस, बिकॉज दैट फॉर्म्स अ मेजर चंक ऑफ व्हाट इज आस्क्ड इन द पेपर. So when I talked about 99% करना and 1% छोड़ देना, this was the 1% that I let go. This was something which I said कि ठीक है, सारा information नहीं है मेरे पास, फिर भी it's okay. I'm pretty confident about the other things that I've studied. So the best way to improve your non-pharma knowledge is by solving question papers, पुराने previous years के. So these question papers you'll find in NIPER, a companion by Dr. Nazma Inandar, and that book also has a section for non-pharma related information in the last 30 or so pages. So check that out. Okay. So एक बार once you have once you've done with your 40 to 50% of your portion, you should start solving your question papers from previous years. These question papers are available in GPAT, a companion, and NIPER, a companion by Dr. Nazma Inandar. They are even in Pearson after each and every topic. And GPAT, a companion, also has subject-wise MCQs, so you can actually see कि कौन से subject में, कौन से subject में you feel that you're weak, etc. So make sure you solve all the question papers again and again. So what that will make happen is that it will familiarize you to the type of questions that are asked, so that the time required to read and understand the question reduces. Because since you have less than 1 minute to answer each question, it is important that you read the question and understand them without spending a lot of time. So solving question papers will help you in that aspect, and it will also help you develop critical thinking skills that are required to answer these type of questions. But speed is not the only parameter that you have to improve, because if you solve all 200 questions but your accuracy is low, then jitna bhi correct answers ka marks you've gotten, you lose those in the negative marking. So improving your accuracy is also important. I would say it's more important than the speed. Okay, so don't rely on guesswork. Tukka, if you're not sure about the question, if you're not sure about the answer that you've marked, do not answer that question. Okay, to increase your accuracy, अभी accuracy कैसे बढ़ाते हैं? Studying. You should have, if you increase your knowledge, you'll increase your accuracy. So all you can do is study. Okay, even if you think कि आपका पढ़ाई हो गया है, it's not the case. You have to revise again and again, because jitna times you will revisit what you have studied, you'll learn new things about them, because first glance mein many a times people miss important things. So revise them again and again. Okay, don't get complacent, don't become complacent. ठीक. So how many questions you need to solve? uh, See, sniper mein they don't tell you your score, right? So we don't know what the cutoff really is. So in that case, I will say कि at least 150 correct answers. Okay, correct answers. So I had solved 176 questions. उसमें से I was sure about 160. So बचे हुए 16 questions में से आधे right होंगे, आधे wrong होंगे, I don't know. But I was sure about 160 questions, right? So I suggest you solve as many questions as you can with reasonable accuracy. Do not attempt the questions that you have no idea how to answer. And most of the questions में ऐसे नहीं होता है. Most of the questions में, even if you don't know the right answer, you can eliminate the wrong choices. Logic लगा के. तो try to develop that side. Try to develop वैसा that skill when you're solving previous years का question papers. Your accuracy should be high. So same thing, you have to study to improve your accuracy. Okay, study and revise. So now you have referred your reference books, you have referred GPAT, you have referred the MCQs, you have solved all the MCQs. So according to me, this is usually more than enough preparation for NIPER. But if you feel you can do more, if you feel that you want to do more, then there are test series that you can join. There's GDC, there's Pharma Elite, there's Pharma Intelligence, which will help you gather information. Or you can browse on YouTube and Instagram, which also have pages that have MCQs and their explanations and everything. So you can do that. But otherwise, jitna ये सब knowledge and all this practice and solving questions is enough. So all this was about the technical aspect of preparation, right? About the studying, about the study material. There's one more thing that you have to worry about, that you have to keep in mind, is having a mentor. Because these few months that you're spending preparing for your entrance exams, they are very crucial, and you need to have someone that you can confide in with your struggles. So that may be your parents, or your professors. So confide in them and listen to their advice. Moral support, moral support is very important when it comes to, preparation. Like, I had to prepare everything alone, right? I was at home and there was nobody else. So my parents were my mentors. They were my moral supports in the months that I was preparing for NIPER and GPAT. They would remind me to eat, because oftentimes I forget to eat when I get into the zone of studying. And whenever I took breaks, they would never question me ki, why are you taking a break? Don't you have to study? Because they knew ki when I'm studying, I'm giving it my 100%. So talk to your parents. Talk to your parents about what you need from them. Tell them to have trust in the way you prepare. And for that to happen, they have to see ki when you're studying, you're giving it your 100%. Okay. So talk to your parents, gather mental support, have a mentor with you. So, final thoughts. I will end this session by saying that no matter how many strategies and tips I or anybody else can give you, they won't help you if you don't study, right? They don't help you if you don't work hard. They are not an alternative to studying, because I did not know about any test series, right? I did not know about Pharma Elite. I did not know about Pharma Intelligence. I only knew कि इतना syllabus है. I only knew कि ये books refer करना है, Pearson and Inamdar. And I only knew कि मेरे friends ने last year कैसे prepare किया था. So I used that, and still I secured good rank in GPAT, and I came first in NIPER. So if I can do it, there's no reason why you cannot do it, right? If I can do it, then you can do it as well. And you have great resources at your disposal. You have online test series, you have Pharma Intelligence. So make sure you use them. And now you're in college, you're still studying, your syllabus isn't over yet. So whatever you're studying in college, pay attention to it and get all the doubts cleared with your professors. Leave no stone unturned there. Lastly, don't think much. ज़्यादा strategize मत करो, ज़्यादा planning मत करो. You just have to get to work, and things will work out. But for that, you have to start preparing. So this is where I end my session. Thank you again to Pharma Intelligence and the team for having me here. I hope whatever I've told you helps you in preparing for your exams. Thank you.
Thank you, Shraddha. It was a very informative session for all aspirants. I think they must have got something from this session, and they will be implement to so they can achieve more and qualify with great marks in their exam. So I'm sure must all aspirants must have learned something they have see from your PPT. So I will take questions from audience.
Yes.
There is a question from Jayesh Sonone. So he's asking,
Yeah.
as you know, you have got first rank. So how many questions did you attempt? Did you attempt all, or did you? I mean, so you can
See,
tell us
when
that.
it comes right. So when it comes to GPAT now, there is one negative marking, right? So you're not losing just 1 mark, you're losing 5 marks if you go wrong. So it's important to attempt only those questions that you're 100% sure about. So I attempted 80 questions, जिसमें से 72 were right. Okay. So GPAT के time पे attempt only those questions that you are sure about. 80 to 90 questions I think will give you a really good score. 200 280 के above जाएगा आराम से. When it comes to नाइपर में जितना हो सके उतना questions attempt करो. Okay, you have to get, and उसमें से at least 150 questions correct होने चाहिए. I attempted 176 in नाइपर, and उसमें से 160 questions के बारे में I was sure. तो जो बचे हुए 16 क्वेश्चन है उसमें से आधे राइट होंगे आधे रॉन्ग होंगे, बट दैट वाज व्हाट आई डिड.
Okay. So there is another questions from
Um,
how,
yeah.
how are you able to adjust your study time during, means you have taken a gap, so you got a lot of time to prepare, but also you have experienced that you had also prepared in the time of college time. So how did you manage that time?
See, college के time पे ना there's also all the extracurricular activities that people like to get into. So I am an introvert. I was not interested in all that. So I could give all my time to studying. Okay, and since I did not prepare for the exam when I was going to college, I had a lot of time to prepare. Break के time पे.
Yeah.
So I used to study for 12 hours every day.
Okay.
But since you are going to,
So
but since you have college, 3 hours करना पड़ेगा.
yeah, yeah. So when you had taken admission to B Farm from first, did you prepare from first year or did you started in last year?
Yeah, actually, GPAT was not in my cards. Like I was not going to prepare for GPAT. I actually wanted to do MBA first. So GPAT के लिए I started preparing from September 2019. But at the same time, I had like 5 months, 4 months for preparation, and I had the entire time to prepare. So so the students are in second and third year, right? Now is the time to start preparing. Like अभी वक्त गया नहीं है. Don't think about पहले से prepare करना चाहिए था. नहीं, start from now.
Yes. So I'm expecting more questions from audience. You can ask in any language. There is no language barrier. You can ask in Hindi, whatever language
Yeah,
you
sure.
prefer. So I think there are no questions from audience.
I think
So we
yes,
can
yes, there are no questions. Yes, you can conclude.
yeah, we can conclude the session now. I hand over session to Professor Usman sir to give vote of thanks from their side of yeah to Usman.
So, a very warm good afternoon to all. Our guest, Ms. Shraddha Madam, Sanjay ji, and respected principal sir, delegates, and my dear colleagues. Myself, Dr. Mohammad Usman, convener from SBK Institute of Pharmacy, today welcomes you all in a validatory function of live webinar on Plan, Prepare, and Crack It Roadmap for NIPER 2021, jointly organized by SVKM's IOP Delay and Pharmacology. Dear friends, to be successful, you have to use each day as an opportunity to improve yourself, to be better, to get a little bit closer to your goals. It might sound like a lot of work, and with a busy schedule, next to be impossible. But the best part is the more you accomplish, the more you will want to do. The higher you will want to reach. So as you long as you have the hunger for success, you will always have the power within you to achieve. Dear friends, SPKM believes in nurturing the quality education and research culture. Under the same, we have started the web series or live webinar series for GPED or NIPER. Firstly, I would like to thank our today's very young guest speaker, Ms. Shraddha Madam, who guided our students with simple tricks and making NIPER study very easy. Now it's time for vote of thanks towards all who directly or indirectly involved for the successful conduction of this webinar on plan, prepare and track roadmap of NIPER 2020. I would like to
Yes.
thank my deep gratitude to our Honorable President Shri Amresh Bhai Patel sir for constantly supporting us and providing us such excellent IT facility which make us enabled to conduct such a wonderful event. I will like express thanks to our Director Pharmacy Institution of SVKM, Dr. R.S. Gauss sir for his visionary guidance, and I am thankful to SVKM management for their support and encouragement. I take this opportunity on behalf of GPAT committee SCKM IPGA to express my sincere gratitude to our young and dynamic principal, Dr. Samir N. Goyal sir, for his tireless and constant motivation and support. My special thanks to delegate for their active support and participation to make this event grand successful. Okay. And finally, I would like to thank Ms. Murali Patil, organizer of today's webinar. Without their support, it was really impossible to conduct this event. So, finally, I am thankful to all SVKM faculties and staff and group of Pharma Intelligence. Thank you very much for your enthusiasm shown by delegates for patients listening to today's webinar. Okay, so all the best for IPAD 2021 as well as GPAT. Thank you.
Sir,
Thank
I
you.
will flash some
Thank you,
comments
sir.
from guests. Yeah,
Yes, sir. There are
from
Uh,
few
so,
participation.
questions from audience.
Yes, yes.
Uh, yeah, can you please take that questions?
Okay, okay. I will pick that one.
so, uh, so there is a question from Sudarshan Patil. How you remember pharmaceutical analysis subject like IR means there is a value and their subjective value. So how did you remember, Shraddha?
See, I don't have problem with memorizing. Okay,
Yeah.
I like memorizing and ratta marna actually is very easy for me. So what you all can do is write those value down. Writing things down repeatedly really helps to remember. So write them down. Make
Mhm.
charts. Make tables.
Yeah. Thank you. I have forwarded the link of feedback. So I am expecting a feedback from all audience. So you can get a certificate from our side. So you have to fill feedback from by tonight, and we can forward your certificate on your registered mail ID. So I would like to thank you each and everyone for attending this session, and I am expressing my sincere gratitude to SUKM for giving opportunity to organize this event and uh, take a collaboration with this eminent institute so that we can deliver at a big platform like this. So I would like to thank their management team for organizing and making it big a success for our. Yes, thank you. So we can conclude this session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Shraddha ma'am, for
Thank you, sir.
guiding very
Thank you for
nicely
having me.
our aspiring students. Thank you so much once